Ladies and gentlemen, international football and tournaments are around the corner again. This time, it's not England playing against like Lithuania or something, because the World Cup in Qatar 2022 starts in just under a month. In a nation where, given most other things are illegal, it's actually a wonder how we're even allowed to play football there in the first place. But never fear, because the reality is, we're gonna win it all.
Good morning, England!
We can raise a drink to that. No, we actually... But how are we going to take this tournament home? How are we going to ensure that we have the best possible opportunity of winning the World Cup of 2022 by taking the perfect possible squad? And that is what we are going to be discussing today. Now, if you're going to enjoy this video, feel free to slap a like on it and, of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. 2,523% of you are currently not subscribed, so I'd really appreciate it if you hit that big red button. This is my 26-man squad for the World Cup in Qatar. Now, I would like to say straight off the bat, we're not fucking about here. We don't have the time and resources to waste on 3 goalkeepers. I'm sorry, but taking 3 shot stoppers to an international tournament is entirely useless, and I've been saying it from day one. So I'm making a stand. I'm not going by the conventional squad picking rules. The first goalkeeper we're going with is Everton's Jordan Pickford. Now, this is an interesting one because I always flame this guy, and a lot of other people do as well for his club performances from time to time. But at the end of the day, you gotta remember sometimes that it's not just about how a player's doing in the league. You know, you gotta take into account whether they're experienced at international level. You know, have they gone to a tournament before? Do they play well for England? And that's the most crucial one here in choosing Jordan Pickford, because this guy consistently does well for England. And he's a crackhead. So what more could you possibly want? And filling up the second of my 2 goalkeeping spots, I'm sure you'll have guessed by now, is Aaron Ramsdale of Arsenal. I actually don't know which of these 2 I would rather start. They both give the same energy, which is obviously an interesting one around the camp. And the reason as well that I've gone with Ramsdale over Pope is just because I kind of prefer Ramsdale, I think, as a goalkeeper, just anyway. But also with Pope, he's a bit more of a Russia sort of goalkeeper, not the nation. Nicholas Popski. No, he's someone who loves to rush out. He's a great sweeper keeper. You know, his sweeping statistics are pretty high, and I just don't really think that's the type of high defensive line, or, you know, that's the type of goalkeeper that Gareth Southgate is going to rely upon. We now move on to the fabled right backs. Now, we are kind of struggling in this situation because we've got quite a few injuries. But the first right back on the plane in this situation, as things stand, is probably Kyle Walker, the Manchester City pace merchant who is actually out injured at the moment with a groin problem, but should apparently be fit for the World Cup, given he's a pretty solid right back still at this point in his career, and he can also play on the right side of a back 3, which is obviously what we play defensively. I think he's one of the most useful players that we can have in the squad from a defensive standpoint, and if we do need a third goalkeeper, then he can do that job as well. After that, and we've got Kieran Trippier of Newcastle, who for me has to be on the plane. He's actually had a sensational start to the season, and just in terms of consistency, I think he was the Premier League's official man of the match against Manchester United. He's been great as well against Crystal Palace and Fulham in his last 5 games. Like, he's been a man of the match contender in 3 of his last 5 matches from right back. After that free kick in the World Cup 4 years ago, he deserves a spot in this squad for life, even at 57 years of age. The third right back spot is easily the most controversial and contentious, but I think it's been made a little bit more easy with injury developments, that Reece James is pretty much guaranteed to miss the tournament because he's out for 2 months and it starts in 1 month. But even still, for me, you try and find somewhere on the plane for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Even if it's like illegal luggage, you weren't meant to like have an extra suitcase, but you slap him in there anyway, because genuinely, I know Trent Alexander-Arnold has been awful at times this season defensively, but he offers something that nobody else in this England squad has. His crossing and passing capabilities, there's no one else as good at putting the ball on someone's head. That sounds there'll be less defensive duties on him if we are playing a back 5. For me, he's still got to go. I put him there, especially given Reece James is out injured. We move on to the centre-backs. I'll keep it pretty brief with the first one, John Stones.
Wagwan Generals.
From Manchester City. I do think is our best centre-back, to be honest. I know he's kind of been a little bit interchanged in the Man City side because they've got Ruben Diaz and they've got Manuel Akanji now, but I still think he's our classiest and best on-the-ball centre-back that we have. Fikayo Tomori also has to go. I know Gareth Southgate will find a way to not play him, but he's literally a Serie A champion. My only explanation for Southgate constantly omitting him from in playtime is that he thinks that Inzaghi and Shevchenko are still running Serie A or something. The third centre-back, I know you're gonna groan at this one, lads, but hear me out. Harry Maguire, him and his big forehead there on the plane. There again, maximum capacity luggage. Harry Maguire is one of those centre-backs. I don't think I've ever seen a system centre-back as much as anyone else before. But Harry Maguire is that type of centre-back where in a 3, and all he's got to do is nod things clear and not really think too much, he will excel. And I know we haven't been as good defensively in Nations League action, and, you know, he wasn't great against Germany, but traditionally, Harry Maguire is a lot better for England. But if we're talking about experience, even just around the camp and just getting some game time and trusting him in an England shirt, I do trust him a bit, so I think he's gonna go. Eric Dyer is another player that in an ideal world, I don't want to take, but he always provides just about good enough performances in the build-up to a tournament to warrant being on the plane. Again, I'd be concerned if we want to win the World Cup and Eric Dyer is starting for us at centre-back, but he has improved since times where he was really struggling at Spurs, and obviously under Conte, Spurs are doing pretty well, and are certainly defending well at the very least. Now, we've got a couple more centre-backs still. I think one, if not both of these, would be cut for the actual squad. First of all, we've got Crystal Palace's Mark Guehi, who's been getting in and around the England camp recently, and for me is the best of the sort of outside of the top 10 centre-backs that we tend to pluck from. Your Connor Cody's and Tyrone Mingses, they're tired. Please stop it. Connor Cody and Tyrone Mings should not be going. Mark Guehi's the best out of them for me. I think he's a very intelligent centre-back. And then Ben White, who doesn't get as much of a sniff for England as I think he should, and also can play at right back. I know we've got a bit of an abundance of right backs to choose from, but with Reece James's injury, you never know, he might be someone that we think about utilising there. Left backs are about as simple as positions get, I think, for this squad, because for me, there's only 2 left backs that are really ready for an international tournament like the World Cup. Ben Chilwell is the first of them, and he has to start. Like, there is no negotiating. He excels in a back 5 at Chelsea and is an incredible attacking threat. I'd argue that he's actually a little bit underrated. I feel like people don't give Ben Chilwell the credit that he deserves, but Luke Shaw realistically is the other one that's going, having had such a key role at the Euros as well. Now, he's not been great at all in the last 12 months, to be honest with you, and he's not even starting every game for Manchester United, but I don't think your Kyle Walker-Peters and Tyrick Mitchells are really ready for a World Cup. On to midfield now. My first central midfielder on the plane is Jude Bellingham, Borussia Dortmund's finest. This kid is the wonder boy. Yeah, no, this is the future. Like, genuinely, the past, present, and future, bruv. And he wasn't even about in the past. The only thing I would say is he's not like the archetypal double pivot midfielder that Gareth Southgate will like. He's not that type of centre mid, in my opinion. But to be honest, he's just so good that I would love him to start anyway. Jude, like, well, I'm recording this and Liverpool won today. We beat Man City, so you know where to go. You know what it is about Jude Bellingham as well? He's such a cool head. I still can't keep up with my washing, bruv. And I'm considerably older than him. I've run out of socks here and now, today. And he's running games in midfield, bossing things, youngest captain or youngest English captain in Champions League history for Borussia Dortmund. Second centre mid on the plane, Declan Rice. Yeah, West Ham's finest, East London's finest, Ireland's finest. But even though West Ham are not the same West Ham this season, he, at the end of the day, has remained quality. Mason Mount is kind of a tricky one because he's not just a central player. I mean, he's not even playing that centrally for Chelsea, I guess, at the moment. But whatever you do, Mason Mount, again, has got that versatility. He can play out wide, he can play centrally. But yeah, Mason Mount goes. He had a slow start to the season, but recently has turned it up. Just scored a brace against Aston Villa, was great against Milan in the Champions League, ran that game. I feel like work on consistency. I feel like sometimes you have those phases with Mason Mount where you won't notice that he's playing a string of games for Chelsea for like 4 games in a row. So if he's a consistent performer at the World Cup then, and we get a good Mason Mount, then loving that. Next up, Jordan Henderson. Now, I know this one might genuinely be contentious, because if we're being totally honest, this is not the same Jordan Henderson as like 4 years ago. But again, he's a commanding figure. He's a born leader. One of the best captains that the country has, that the league has, in my opinion, just from like a footballing footballing standpoint and getting everyone together and motivating the troops and rallying them. And I'm not saying just slap him in the changing room as you know, a cheerleader, because I think he still has something to offer footballing wise. Otherwise, I'm taking James Milner or something. He can still do something. He can still come on and calm games down with his presence. Calvin Phillips, I think, is also an option as a DM. Don't know if he would make the 23-man squad, but he was so good at the Euros last time. I loved his partnership with Declan Rice. Okay, editing there and here. Didn't quite realize just how injured Calvin Phillips is. I thought he'd be back for the World Cup, so I'm gonna choose James Ward-Prowse instead. And then the final one, who is again someone that can play out wide, but for me works best as an advanced central player, James Maddison, bro. You must be sick if James Maddison's not going to Qatar. 5 goals and 2 assists for a Leicester team that was 21st out of 23 weeks ago. These lot are washed. This is terrible. And he's the only man in that squad pulling everybody together. He's doing his numbers ratings-wise, statistically, and in terms of actual just goal contributions as well. In that team, bro, he has to go.
He has to go, blood. He has to go, blood.
I cannot explain to you the role that he will have or where he will play in Southgate's system, but I want him on the plane. And now we get into the juicy stuff. We've got the forwards and the wingers because there's a lot of choice here, lads. So the first one, the obvious one, Sir Harold, MBE, OBE, CBO, CNN, GPS, Harry Kane, he's there. The Tesco man himself, every little helps value. I mean, I don't really know what else I have to say. There's 3 Dons, I think, in world football that have got 30 goal contributions in league football this year, this calendar year. And I know Mbappe is one of them. I can't remember who the third is, but Harry Kane is the other one. He's a natural goal scorer. I just don't want him to come as deep. I don't want him to come deep to get the ball as much as he did, but I've ruined the sentence. The next guarantee and a starter, in my opinion, is Phil Foden. Philip Foden is outrageous. If Jude Bellingham is the truth, Phil Foden is the fact. And I know he's got Erling Haaland up there as well to assist right now, but he's getting loads of goals as well. He's grabbing sensational performances. They can't beat Liverpool though. Another man that starts for me, this might be again a bit of a controversial one, is Bukayo Saka. I'm here for the youth, lads. Bukayo Saka, every single time he stepped on the pitch at the Euros, and every time he steps on a pitch for England anyway, he changes games. Not only that, but his club form in the last month has been exceptional. This guy is scoring every day. You're not even playing on a Tuesday, but he's scoring anyway. And poetically, I want us to get to the final of the World Cup. It go to a penalty shootout where a young Bukayo Saka stands where he once stood to take the deciding spot kick and slots it home as England win the World Cup. It's not happening. We're going out in the round of 16, lads. I just want to let you know. Raheem Sterling next up. Just always performs for England. Another one of those guys that you can rely on. He's just dependable. He's great experience. He's been pretty good since he went to Chelsea, though I think goals and great performances have dried up a little bit recently. But then again, he was literally our player of the tournament at the Euros. So Jack Grealish is the first slightly debatable one, I think, out of the forwards here. Because whilst I feel like you probably do have to take him for the difference that he offers, he's a once-in-a-squad player. There's not another winger like Jack Grealish that we have at our disposal. Who else is gonna consume copious amounts of alcohol whilst we're out there, even though it's literally illegal? There are question marks about him since his move to Manchester City. He's not been that influential type and that influential player. Gareth Southgate, does he really even like him that much? Will he just start talking about Connor Cody again as soon as he has to write Jack's passport details in for the flight? I don't know the answers to these questions, but I think with Jack improving a little bit this season, he's not been getting the goal contributions to reflect it, but I think he's definitely been putting in some good performances, like against Wolves, like against Copenhagen in the Champions League, to maybe get his confidence up, and then you'll see a slightly different Jack this season. And that brings us to our last 2 players. Our last 2 players to get on the plane. Now, I guess there's an argument to say I've taken one too many centre-backs, and I probably could have taken someone like Mark Guehi out. If you're playing 3 centre-backs, you kind of need to take 6 with you. But the first one that I'm going with is Ivan Toney. I don't give a fuck. Boo me all you like. I don't care. Do what you like, lads. Literally, fuck the feds. Bond the Jakes. Fuck the police. I'm taking Ivan Toney to Qatar. Because if you deep it right, who are the options as a second out-and-out striker behind Harry Kane? Tammy Abraham, who I do understand provides great hold-up play and is a great aerial threat and is just a good striker. Don't get it twisted. But then who else is there? Ollie Watkins? Jamie Vardy out of international retirement? You could give him a WKD and he'll probably probably. Help with his legal fees with his wife, and he'll probably come out of retirement. But for me, Ivan Toney, in terms of, like, bro, 8 goals this season. He's in sensational form. He got a call-up in the last squad. I don't see why he can't get a call-up again. Realistically, I could have taken a centre-back out and gone for Abraham and Ivan Toney, and that maybe would have been probably the easier thing to do here. The final player that I'm going to choose, because realistically, it's a final wide player, and there's about 17 options here. Jadon Sancho, Barnes, Bowen, but I'm going to go with Marcus Rashford. Why are you booing me again? You know what it is, right? Humanitarian reasons, bro. Qatar, it's wild out there. It's the wild, wild west. I mean, it's literally the east, but it's crazy out there. And I think, honestly, there needs to be some level of balance, right? We take Marcus Rashford, bro. Imagine the amount of GoFundMes my man can raise awareness for. Like, we can do serious work over there if we take Marcus. It's a weird one, this one, because Jadon Sancho, I like the idea of taking him, but he's still just not stepping up enough. Someone like a Jared Bowen, it's a difficult one. West Ham haven't been that great this season, and Bowen hasn't been as good for me as last year. And I don't think Harvey Barnes is good enough. He's underrated, don't get it twisted. I don't think he's done anything crazily exceptional for me to take him. Instead of Marcus Rashford, who I know is extremely hot and cold, and has had portions of this season where he's actually been very good, but has also had games and performances where he's been absolutely terrible, like in the Europa League the other day. But I guess he can also, if it really came down to it, kind of play central like he used to. But this is my overall 26-man squad for the World Cup as things stand. Recorded today, middle of October, right? You're not seeing this video for like another week and a half, all right? But what do you make of my squad, and what would you change? Let me know down in the comments section below. Who are you taking to the World Cup that you think I've overlooked? Someone like a Dean Henderson, a Jared Bowen, a Connor Cody, a Tammy Abraham, a James Ward-Prowse. Didn't even mention him whatsoever. Let me know down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video though, feel free to slap a like on it, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at the official FNG on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.